Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. We are here and we are live again this week. Absolutely loving it. 11 a.m. in the morning feels like a good spot for me. And yeah, let's see if we can keep it up. Good to see us all. Fist bumps on arrival. We have a few bits and bobs to get stuck into today. Just looking at the way the week is kind of panning out. Scotland play Morocco on Friday. I normally like to do previews with enough time out there so that, they can have a few views. A few of you can catch it before the game actually happens. So I thought we would go through that today, look at the predicted lineups, look at how the game should flow, and we'll get some receipts out on the internet. Score predictions, man of the match shouts, what you think and feel coming into the game, as well as a few other little bits and pieces. Michael's in the chat, nice and quick, nice and early, letting us know that the draw for Hearts in the Champions League is at 11, which is when we're kicking off today. I seen that myself right before coming on. Now we're going to get some of that action today. So we'll look to cover that as we're live and loud going through this as well, see who their opponents will be, because Hearts have probably, a lot of the headlines is kind of around the Rangers element of it, but Hearts are the ones that are really turning over a lot of ground right now, with players coming in and out. And on top of that, obviously a new manager kind of running around. So the Hearts draw will certainly be of interest, and I'll do my best to get across that as soon as it comes out. So we look forward to catching that. But the one thing I thought we would start the stream off with today, and you just seen it from the title, is Clyde Worldwide. Right now, this caught me by surprise a little bit this morning until I kind of went on to Clyde's actual page here. But they've started a thing, a real powerful initiative to become fan-owned, as it were. Now, they posted something on the 10th of February, which I actually did bookmark and just never really got back to it turns out. But it's all kicked off, this morning. I seen this post where, they've got owners from Brazil, and I thought, hold on, let's go and have a wee look at that. And I recommend you give this a good read in your own time if you're interested in the development of Scottish football or local teams, that kind of thing. But this is a really comprehensive looking plan, and what's the other word? Plan, like dossier of what the model's about, how you get involved, the impact you can have, etc. And it's really well put together. Honestly, when I was going through this morning before coming on, it is pretty comprehensive, and I've not even scratched the surface. It's very easy and very transparent, all done in dollars. I think it doesn't really matter who you bank with nowadays. Like when you go onto the internet, you can receive and spend dollars and euros and whatever. So I think this is, and the dollar to the pound is actually pretty good. So it's actually not £80 as such. It's a bit less than that, isn't it? But this I found really interesting, by the way. For individuals or organisations aligned with Clyde FC's long-term vision and seeking a deeper level of ownership, the club offers the opportunity to acquire a major shareholding. And I thought, oh man, if I had so much money right now, this would be something I could really get my teeth stuck into. I'd love to see. I think there's so much potential within football, particularly Scottish football, for teams to break through glass ceilings and all that kind of thing. And with this type of initiative, I think Clyde are one of the teams you've got to say are one of the more interesting and exciting ones to maybe pay attention to over the next 10 years or so. This level of commitment provides a chance to play a leading role in the club's strategic decision-making and help guide the next phase of development, both on and off the pitch, which is just a lovely thing to read. It goes through, I say, tons of stuff in a lot more detail, but I found this one of the most eye-catching kind of statements of intent that was on this was they want a stadium in Glasgow. Now, I've always known Clyde to play from Broadwood and Cumbernauld. I've always kind of recognised them as a Cumbernauld team. So this is kind of maybe a little bit, something I wasn't really aware of or whatever. This is something that the club kind of harps for. But they want a stadium back in Glasgow. They want to join Partick Thistle, as it were, and get back into the big city and, just have that bigger footprint and that bigger exposure, and become probably the community team of Glasgow is probably their kind of aim and objective. And again, dead easy to just fill this thing in and go for it. I've just came across this. Clyde haven't asked me to do it or anything like that, don't get me wrong. But I've just seen it and I thought, this is interesting. This is exciting. This is thinking outside the box. I went past the plan bit. I think it was right at the top. Or where was it? There was a bit where it was... Obviously, this journey home thing was like the kind of punchline, but there was a page I was on and it was like a real, say, kind of dossier of what the planning intent was and whatever. And I thought, power to them, by the way. Well done. Well done to you. And I hope this is a roaring success. And you can tell they're aiming at American ownership and whatever as well, which is lovely. The journey home, yeah, it's all kind of laid out here. So I seen that and I thought that's a bit of a different one. So worth a wee bit of a spotlight, I think, a wee bit of attention. And if you're anyway inclined to Clyde in any way, or that kind of thing, it could be something for anyone to just kind of get involved in and support some local football, as it were. So power to them, and we'll watch out, as I say, for Hearts as well, and their return to Champions League qualification for the first time in they didn't get there under that George Burley year, did they? Did they finish second that year, or did they finish in third again? I forget. Did they have Champions League? I should really know that. It was around my sprightly youth, but no, I've forgotten. Maybe you guys can help me in the chat. Okay, cool. So yeah, we've got the Hearts thing to tick along in the background. The Clyde thing I just wanted to kind of share with you. I just thought it was really cool. And, Clyde, the worldwide, the global ownership community. So fair play to them. And I hope it goes well. It was maybe one of these pages, perhaps, or maybe not. Is that the page we took to anyway? I think it might have been. Yeah, it is. So yeah, good to see you. What are you thinking and feeling coming into this week? Because the big question mark for Scotland is the Morocco game now. Now, the Haiti game, we already did the breakdown, we already did the analysis of that on the channel, looking at some of the highlights, the player ratings, how the game ebbed and flowed, etc. And I had a lot of fun doing it. You guys seem to really enjoy it as well. Good morning to you all. Fist bumps on arrival. Love to see it. We're on YouTube and Facebook, so wherever you're watching this, thanks to everyone that's tuning in. Let it be known in the comment section. Hit the like button. Goes a long way to supporting the channel and supporting the show. And the Scotland squad coming into this Morocco game isn't really too different, but we have a lot of different questions. Most of you guys, if not all of you, would have more than likely watched Morocco-Brazil. And the thing with the Morocco-Brazil game is we fear both of these teams when the draw is made, for good reason. Morocco, whatever you want to think about them, got to the AFCON final, and then from there, it's kind of up to you how you want to remember history in that regard. And Brazil, obviously, are Mr. World Cup in terms of the team and the outfit. But that game, Brazil didn't look that great. Morocco did look very good, but I don't think Brazil were up to too much. So it does give us a lot of questions coming into this game for how we're going to approach it. How Steve Clarke's going to approach it. The setup has to be different, you would imagine. Maybe it's not. And if it is different, there's maybe one or two different ways he could skin that cat, as it were. So I think we'll start off with kind of looking at the defence, because I do think, I've got Gordon on screen here. I think everyone, or maybe not everyone, but I think if you were told before the World Cup started, Craig Gordon will get a cap, you would probably not be too surprised by that, given just his relationship with the Scotland national team and Steve Clarke in particular, and the fact that he's been called up despite only playing 4 games this season or something at the age of 42, 43, whatever he's kicking at now. The Haiti game, you couldn't play him because it is like the cup final type of situation where he played gun, we got the clean sheet, job done. And then against Morocco and Brazil, I don't think there's a good option to pick to play Craig Gordon, to be quite honest with you, unless it's one of if you're planning on or hoping to get a positive result from Morocco, you can maybe see him play Brazil. But maybe some of you guys think it would be the other way around, where you maybe play Morocco and then you bring Gunn back in for Brazil. But personally, I don't think you can play Gunn in this game, and I don't think Craig Gordon comes into the reckoning. The main conversation I'm seeing around defence is, does he go to a back five? Now, when we looked at the Scotland tail of the tape coming into this tournament, the 4 friendlies we played after qualification, we've seen a whole host of different formations played. Against all, we played Ivory Coast, we played Japan, we played Bolivia, and was it Ghana or something? So, and 3-5-2 of some description was kind of in the mix, as was 4-4-2, which we've already seen get played. Tierney didn't feature at all in the first game, so I think he's one of the obvious ones that helps you think about 5 at the back. Is Tierney coming into a back 3 with Hendry and Hanley? Again, some of you might fancy McKenna to come back in. I think Hendry and Hanley played so well in the first game, it would be hard to see one of them drop out. And then you've got Hickey and Patterson to job share the 90 minutes to cover the right side. With Robbo on the left, I don't know if you've quite got that same flexibility within the squad, perhaps. Maybe you're looking at Tony Ralston or something like that. So it's an interesting one when you think about the whole 90 minutes, but I can see the attraction to this with the back 5. I'll pop this in as a poll for the chat. How many at the back? What do you think? You guys tuning in live and loud with us. How many do you think Steve Clarke will go for? Or what do you think, how many will there be? Is kind of the question. What do you think it will come out at? Now, I think, one of the comments which really stuck with me in the preview when I was like, I don't think Shankland will play. I think it's a bluff. I don't see him going 4-4-2. It's too kind of open in the middle, which it ended up being. One of you said in the chat, if he doesn't play 4-4-2, he has bricked the bed, if I can make it a bit more, watershed kind of friendly, as it were. And I think if he plays 5 at the back, he's maybe bricked the bed with this Morocco game. Apparently, Steve Clark at training spent 5 minutes speaking one-on-one with KT. Interesting. I think he might play 5 at the back off the back of that. Interesting to see. I've seen the Debussy to AZ stuff. I'd put a wee retweet out on it. I guess that one's done, isn't it? So yeah, I see the merit for it, but I do think this is going to cut both ways. We'll look at the Morocco team. We've got the projected lineup for them as well. I'm going to just move McKenna and Patterson just out of frame now, because I think if it really is. If it's 4 at the back, I think Hendry and Hanley stay in. I don't think he changes anything. And if he does go at 5 at the back, I would be very surprised if he didn't just slide everyone over. We've seen Hendry be the middle of a 3 before. And Hanley on the right side there did a very good job against Haiti. So I could see it, but I think it does all hinge on how he wants to build the rest of the team thereafter. So I'll leave that poll sitting there, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Because in the last game, we started Ferguson, McTominay, McGinn, and Doak. So we didn't have Christie, we didn't have McLean. We can just move them to the side for a moment. And the middle of the pitch was empty. Ferguson did a great job, was my kind of quiet man of the match. Not quite a headline maker, of course, just with the performance he put in, didn't get the actual goal or anything, but very much was a guy that made a lot of the rest of the stuff happen, filled in for guys and whatever as well. And I think this is the number one thing that he wants to think about. And if we did go to 5 at the back, I'm not too sure we're going to get that same depth, strength, and verticality in midfield, because even though you're going to have Robbo and Hickey in the wide spaces, there's even an argument you could maybe box this midfield up with one up front. Maybe slide it alongside like something like this, maybe. Or I know Doc's not going to go to that side. You're maybe looking at it, more like this, actually, in reality. You could do something like that. You've got Doak then, the ability to kind of peel into wide spaces. McGinn kind of does that 3-row job anyway. We know McTominay is going to be on the yo-yo, and then Ferguson's still sitting. You could do something like that. But I think if he is going to play 5 at the back, it's not going to be like this type of thing. It's probably more likely going to be like Ferguson, McGinn, Doak on one side. Maybe it's even McTominay in the middle with McGinn on this side. It's more like a 4. I would see it being in actual the way he's going to play it if he was to go 5 at the back. And I think then against Morocco, that's just too much for Adams. I don't think we're going to get any shots away as we need to in this one. Now, we will need to defend and we will need to be deep, but there will also be a point in time where we need to get up the pitch. And yeah, Gannon Doak or the pace in the team, whoever that's going to be, maybe Robbo kind of cheats again like we've seen in the last game, but in the 5 at the back shape, it's a bit more easy to manufacture rather than the 4 at the back shape. I get that. It still gives you the kind of routes to go or whatever, but if you're asking McTominay to join the support through the middle and Ferguson to cover in the middle, the way Morocco play and the teams that they have, that's just not going to happen that often. And if it does, it will really open us. So I think that's when I stop with 5 at the back personally. But I think there's more than one way it could work, obviously, and he's got a few different choices up his sleeve. But yeah, I think really I see him going to. I think I see him staying at 4 at the back. You play your Ferguson, you bring Christie in to start this one rather than how he come off the bench in the last one. And otherwise, you've kind of got the same team. McTominay's got a lot more freedom to give their midfield something to think about. A lot more of the ability to support the front line. Doak and McGinn are doing the same gig anyway. But with Christie doing what we were talking about McTominay doing a minute ago, you also still have McTominay up front there. And you still have McTominay also still that's going to come back and do 2 jobs. Somebody I mentioned in the breakdown, McTominay was doing borderline 3 jobs in the last game. And somebody mentioned that he covered more kilometres than anyone else in the match, which was just absolute proof in the pudding there. So you're still going to get that from him. But I think with having, like, Chrissy's got great legs as well, but having the extra kind of player in there on the pulley system, to give and go in the middle, I think it just gives us more legs and more of an option to get out. And don't get me wrong, Tierney and Robbo, you could probably still facilitate something like that. You could probably still manufacture something like that to happen with them. So again, Tierney as a left back himself, if Robbo's going to go really high, you could probably allow Tierney out the gate on the other side there and really focus everything down one side of the pitch. I wouldn't rule that out either. But I think if you're going to defend deep and narrow like we're going to want to, having Ferguson and Christie in front of the back line with everything else that we spoke about, I think we've been more than good enough to handle Morocco. And it still gives us a real fighting chance into this game, because ultimately, I don't think Steve Clarke is coming into this game thinking that we're going to get scudded or we're going to lose. I personally don't think we're going to lose on Friday. Now, we might not win, but I don't think Morocco are going to win, right? Personally, that's just where I sit with it. If we put them, I'm going to leave this as it stands now. I'll come back to the poll in a minute, because I think, and I'll look at 5 at the back once we look at Morocco again, depending on what your poll vote looks like. But Morocco looked really, really good against Brazil. Saibiri is a big, powerful guy on his way to Bayern Munich right now. El Kanous, if you've probably seen him in and around the Premier League and the Championship with Leicester, but very prolific player from the Belgian league before that. Brahim Diaz, Man City youth development player, now at Real Madrid. Not great pace between these guys, but great trickery. They want to work in tight spaces. As I say, I don't think like electric pace is something that we really need to fear for these guys. Buadi here got all the headlines after the last game, really kind of wrote his own. He's one of the kind of breakout stars of the World Cup, as it were, because he played so well against Brazil. But see where Brazil looked weak against Morocco. They looked leggy. They looked like they were running through. They looked like they were playing on the beach, without any shoes on. They were running in the sand. They just were not mobile. They were not getting around. That is not going to be Scotland at all. Unai is a good player. I've watched a fair bit of him in La Liga. But him, Ainawi, who plays for Roma, and this Buadi, they're nice. They're nippy. But honestly, they are not a match for us man-to-man if we can make it that sort of affair when we are defending. They are tricky. They do move quickly. And we need to have good focus and good attention. Maybe the 5 at the back maybe just helps you cover some of those deeper runners when these things can unfold. So I get the merit again in the 5 at the back. But with the likes of Mazraoui and Hakimi, you do need to watch that you don't just really invite all of this onto you by just like submitting and allowing. It's again, Mazraoui, he's right-footed playing left-back, so he's not going to be like free-flying. But similar to Hickey, he's quite two-footed. So if the ball's on this side of the pitch, he will go forward and break into the box. A very attack-minded guy at times. But Hakimi is seen as the main legs, the main kind of width. And maybe on this side of the pitch, maybe that's where, maybe that is where the 5 at the back gains extra kind of prominence. Because if you're going to slide Tierney and Robbo over here against Diaz and Hakimi, it's probably a really good way of matching up. You then get 2 centre-backs in here to deal with the striker. Hickey's kind of loose looking at Kanous. Hey. And then between Buadi and Unai, who you think are going to be in the picture as well. It's the 5 at the back maybe helps a bit with this, doesn't it? But I just feel like this just sets up for us to be really isolated, and we're not going into this game expecting to rain down shots on goal or to dominate the ball or to get plenty of chances or whatever. But this feels like it's really setting up to limit chances. The legs are Gannon Doak. Could Robbo get in and behind Hakimi? Of course he could. But yeah, I don't know if the extra insurance policy with Tierney, because Diaz isn't going to be that wide. Diaz is going to drop into these types of pockets and whatever. Robbo, Hakimi, you've got McGinn on that side. If we've got McTominay also kind of filling in, and then you bring Christie back into the mix. Again, I feel you're still going to handle these guys well enough. McGinn is going. All these guys are going to come back and do 2 jobs. Of course they are. But I think through the middle, once these guys have overcommitted, the middle space is where you really want to be turning and running people from. Because if Adams is up front, if we're going to play the ball down this side of the pitch, Adams might not be any use. We're going to turn the ball down this side of the pitch. Again, depending on where he is, it might be really hard to play and lock through with him. Whereas if you can get someone breaking through the middle, Adams can then pick and choose a side. He can then maybe even lay off a 1-2 for someone to play through. It might be him, could be Dykes, could be Shankland, whoever you think it's going to be. But I think you want the breakaway to come through the middle if possible. And I think that's why I'm going to, I think it's going to be the 4-2-3-1 or the 5-4-1, however you want to think, 4-5-1, however you want to think of it. So I say, I just don't think they've got mad width. And I think the midfield battle against Brazil, were just very limp. And I think if we put our guys in midfield, not that they've got no chance, but I think they're in for a totally different match. And part of the heart straw has happened, so we'll get to that in a wee moment. Thanks very much for the chat. And I think although Scotland, we were talking about it in the aftermath of the game, we should have battered Haiti, or you'd expect them to do a lot better. That's they're kind of playing a game that is harder for us to play against. It's harder for us to break down. We've did really well against Denmark and Spain and, whoever else. We've had good results against a lot of different shapes and sizes of teams, but we've not often came up, if you think about like Belarus away, there's some of these games where the lower opposition just kill a game and make it hard to play through. Like those sometimes can be the hardest ones to win for us. But in this type of situation, Scotland has zero pressure. Zero pressure. We've already won the tournament. Everyone in America loves the Scots. We've beat Haiti. We're on 3 points. And really, like, Morocco have got way more on this game than we do. Getting a draw against Brazil is like dreamland for them. They probably they can't go into the game thinking we'll beat Brazil. They'll try to beat Brazil, but they'll be thinking if we get a draw against Brazil, we are laughing. And that's what they've done. The pressure is on them coming into this in a big, big way. And Steve Clarke, I think, is going to be good enough to use that nervous energy or use that expectation against them. And again, I think 5 at the back maybe just invites too much of that on them. And I think you need to ask them questions. You need to make them nervous. You can't let these guys get comfortable. And it's not just Morocco, it's anyone in this tournament. The level of comfort can't, that's when these guys squeeze you. And that's when they just hit a few, score 2 goals in 10 minutes or something and kill a game. You just can't let them get comfortable. There has to be that threat of someone that's going to turn and break into the space that they're vacating, or if that guy does overcommit, then do you know what? We are going to just take that space and turn you around on it. So I think you need to bring that level of threat into the match. And I think 5 at the back, unless there's, and again, like Steve Clarke and the guys, I'm sure any plan that they deploy will be well thought out and will have good kind of logic and balance and a point to it. But I think, I think looking at it from an outside, we're not in the camp. Looking in, I would want the 4-5-1 or the 4-2-3-1 to kick in. I think, as I say, I don't think we're losing. I think if you were to push me on a score prediction right now, I'd probably say that we draw this like 1-1. I could see that. I could see us frustrating these guys. I could see us maybe even scoring the first goal, and really that pressure comes on. And maybe there's a wee bit of we could have beat them by the end of it kind of feeling. So that's my score prediction. Let's check in with the poll. 58% of you think it will be 5 at the back. So if it is 5 at the back, you're probably taking Christie out of it again. Sadly, I would think, to bring Tierney into the mix. Gannon Doak, I think, needs to keep his place in the team. Although I think when we've previously played 5 at the back, I'm not sure if Gannon Doak. So again, it might be interesting. So if we did play that kind of 5 at the back thing, and we kept, would he keep Doak on? But I'm not sure he would. Would he maybe go Dykes and Adams or Shankland and Adams? Would he maybe go 2 up top again? Actually, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't really thought about too much, to be honest with you. Still gives that same kind of threat. I'm just not sure. Like if you take Doak out of the team, you're really just hitting and trying to get a 2v3 on the go. It's a really big odds, playing the odds dice roll thing you're after there. So that actually has a bit more merit to it. I can see that. Because again, if Diaz is in this little pocket, Hakimi's going to be pushing up here. You might want that extra insurance policy of Tierney on the left. So yeah, I could actually see the 3-5-2 working. But I think you really want Doak. And then between Doak and Adams, you're peeling into pockets. You've got real pace and space, which is just a mad threat. It really is. And if Doak could do that kind of clever 2 up top kind of shift, I would be really excited to see that. Yeah, we might try and focus on the right with Doak being wide and then Robbo's really your left wide. But if we've been back in, camped in our defence, defended some free kicks and corners, that kind of thing, Adams needs to have the freedom to peel left and Doak has to have the tether, so he doesn't get too far away from Adams so that, Adams has got the pace to get up the pitch in a 1v1. Can he then be the foil to play off him kind of thing? McKenna is fit, so I'd imagine it'd be him in left centre-back. McKenna over Tierney? I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't rule it out. Would not rule it out. McKenna's a bit of a teacher's pet of Steve Clarke also. I don't think that's in much... I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, so I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think you're playing Tierney in the middle of a 3. I don't think. McKenna in for Hanley. I don't see that at all, by the way. I don't see Steve Clarke dropping Hanley at all. I think Hendry did well, but I think Hendry's the one that would get dropped for McKenna. Again, just my opinion. I might be totally wrong. I'm not been doing analysis on Scotland for very long, so I can't say I've got a huge personal opinion on it from what I've seen in the past. I'm just kind of going on everything we've got at our disposal here. But either way you cut it, if it is a 5 at the back type shape, I think, yeah, 2 up top is the way to make it work. I don't want to see, like, yeah, maybe it has Doak out and it's Christie. I don't know, could that work? The box, I don't think this would appear to be a box. I think you're going to have Christie covering this side, McGinn would be covering this side. McGinn, Ferguson sits and McTominay's allowed to go. And yeah, they will go narrow, of course they will, but I just feel this isolates the striker way too much, personally. I just don't think that's going to be worthwhile. Unless it's a game of 2 halves, you start with this, then you bring on like Doak and Curtis or something like that. You really change the script on them. I wouldn't rule something like that out, but I think 1-1. Hard to really know because of the team and everything like that. McGinn got the goal in the first game. I'm going to say McTominay is the headline maker in this one, personally. Glaswegian, good to see you in the chat, mate. Gunn, Hickey, Hanley, Hendry, KT, Robbo, Christie, McTominay. Yeah, what we've ended up with here is what you reckon. I could see it. I think you take Doak out of this, though, and it really hamstrings us. The Doak factor, the Curtis factor is coming into the squad as well. We've not had that since Ikichi Anya. You know what I mean? And pace is powerful. Pace is an X factor. It's a difference maker. And there's going to be times in the game where you're going to need pace. And I think he'll be so hesitant to not play Doak. Yeah, I think Adams is just the starting striker. I just don't think there's much of a conversation around that. He could play somebody like McLean in here as well. I really wouldn't rule that out. But I don't think from the start. Is there anyone else that's really worth mentioning? We spoke about 2 up top. It could be Dykes, could be Shankland. Again, I wouldn't rule that type of thing out, perhaps. Christie's the one that's kind of on the bubble. If it is 5 at the back, what gets done with that? Is it him and it's 4 midfielders either in a flat or in a box? Or do we go 2 up top with either someone exciting like a Gannon Doak or what's been kind of worked on in the last few games in terms of Shankland? Or what's familiar in Lyndon Dykes? Yeah, I think so too. Bring them on later, says Michael. It's a brave strategy, getting to half-time thinking you're still in it, though, because if this is quite a submissive setup, where's Christie at? They can score 2 in the first half. And then played 4 at the back with 2 strikers against Denmark. Interesting point of view there. Really, those games were a bit more must-win, though, than this. This is kind of like a must-not-lose. Let them absorb pressure and expectation and challenge mistakes, really. Chrissy's got a great engine for that. The whole team does, really, but that's why I think you don't need the 5 at the back, because if you play the right set of mids, you're going to get that cover from midfield anyway. Everyone's on for doing 2 jobs, but you really need that attacking threat, I think, to come into it, to stop them getting comfortable, So yeah, I think a draw could be exciting, like a 2-2 or something, but I think I'll go for a 1-1. I think we'll be pragmatic. I think we're going to give them a way tougher game than Brazil, which sounds like a crazy thing to say, but that's how I see it. In terms of the midfield battle and how fluid they looked, I don't think you'll see that as often or come as easy to them as they did in the Brazil match. And I think that will spook them. I think we could get the first goal. I think we could get a draw. We could win. I don't want to say that's impossible, far from it. But I think I'll go by a draw. I don't see us losing, ultimately. Now, we do have the Hearts draw. Hearts have had their draw in the Champions League qualifier. Is it the second qualification round? Yep, second qualifying round against Austrians Sturm Graz. There's a nice graphic. We'll use that. Confirmed. Hearts to play Sturm Graz in the qualifiers. First leg will be away in Graz, with second leg at Tynecastle a week later. This is actually a pretty good game for Hearts, to be honest with you. The draw could have been harsher. I think there was teams like Fenerbahce and 1 or 2 others. Can we see the full? Is this the full draw here? This is the full draw here. League path qualifying round 2. So yeah, if they beat Sturm Graz, does that mean they need to play Fenerbahce next? Or is there other teams that get drawn in? I think there might be other teams that get drawn in at the next point. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they'll get Fenerbahce, but there is still some bigger fish to fry. Sturm Graz won't be easy. This will be really tough, but if memory serves, can we just jump on Transfermarkt to have a wee peek at their squad? Or I wonder, actually, does the tactics board... Let me save that Morocco thing. Where the hell's my save button? No, not export. Equipment, custom save. Where the hell's my save button? Or maybe I can't save it because it's a match thing. Anyway, I'll open another tab. Apologies, everyone, for the babbling. We'll get there in the end. Now, I want to check the tactics board, but I'm not sure the... Yeah, I don't think it's that comprehensive. So let's go back to this. Sturm Graz. Now, they had big Sasa Kaladzic up front, who's the World Cup with Austria. I think he was on loan from Wolves. They spent a lot of money on him from Stuttgart. That's Sturm. Yeah, it's Sturm, isn't it? Or is it Sturm? It's Sturm. I always get that mixed up. Sturm, not Sturm. Sturm. We played. Celtic played them last season. They weren't big shakes, by the way. They were not big shakes at all. Last year we played them. Their number one keeper was out injured. Maybe he's back now. I'm not too sure. Gazi Begovic on loan, so he's away. John Goring Stankovic is all right. Kitishvili is a good player. He's still there. Rozga scored an absolute worldie against Celtic, and I think we were linked to him thereafter. CD Jata, a lot of pace. Maurice Malone. Rory Wilson was on loan from Villa, but going back. Yeah, they've not got... Oh, no. Kaladzic was at Lascalins, wasn't he? I beg your pardon, not Sturm Graz. They won the league. Sturm Graz didn't. So, yeah, they're an all right team, by the way. Hearts will give them a game. They kind of need a manager, though, and maybe another signing or two before they can... How's the Hearts? Yeah, let's look at the Hearts squad, how we've got that sitting at the moment under nobody right now. We spoke about the contenders, the runners and riders for that a few days ago, but this is the Hearts squad as we see it right now. Apparently, Braga's on his way to Rangers. There's an 8 million bounty put on his head, and that could take shape quite quickly. But Alexander Swallow is a really good goalkeeper to go in at this level. And the rest of the guys that were at Hearts last year that will be partaking in this, like, it'll be a really well contested 2 legs. Really need to see who the manager is. Really need to get that sorted before you can think about like how they'll shape up and how they might try and attack the game. Being away in the first leg is kind of nice for them. There's no away goals or anything like that. But if you can go away and get a positive result, and then you're at home with your home crowd, full stadium, under the floodlights, Champions League kind of vibes in the air, you can maybe get the extra mile out of these guys and progress from there. So decent draw for Hearts. I don't think they should be scared of this at all. I think if anything, it will probably enthuse them to kick on and do some of their business, appoint their manager, get everyone in for pre-season, and maybe make an hour signing or two. And I say, yeah, just to double confirm, I don't think it's a guarantee that they would play Fenerbahce in the next leg, or I'm sure it would be kind of confirmed with everything that's been posted around it all yet. So that's fun. Yeah. And then in the next round, more teams enter it. USG, Sparta Prague, and NEC. So yeah, Hearts need to get quite lucky with a draw. I think if they don't get Union Saint-Gilloise, which they probably... Hearts should not be able to play USG, surely. But yeah, they need to avoid USG and Fenerbahce. By the way, imagine Hearts got to the Champions League. These are all the teams in the Champions path. Celtic, I think, won't get drawn until later on. But is there any big teams in there? Zagreb, Slovan Bratislava, now with Yaya Toure as manager. Like Poznan and Louis Palma. Red Star, they made the they made Europa League last year, didn't they? Ammonia, Cyprus, we had a Cypriot club, I'm sure, in the Champions League last year. So nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. Scotland versus Morocco. I'm feeling in good spirits about it as well. I think we will do well. I'm sure Hearts played Sturm Graz a wee while ago. There's a lot of you guys think it could be Dykes and Adams in the chat now as well. I wouldn't rule it out. Would not rule it out. He does love Dykes. 60 plus caps he's got. Rangers have confirmed that Danny Rose left. I think that was kind of all but confirmed at this point anyway, wasn't it? And yeah, I think that's about all she wrote. Everyone, thanks to everyone that's hung out with us this afternoon, or this morning, I should say. Thank you very much. If you're I hope you're watching the game. If you're in America, hope you enjoy it. Stay safe, of course. Just looking at my screen there, it looked fuzzy. Hope everything's came through okay wise on the stream front. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some more stuff. We'll have a match breakdown for Scotland after the game on Saturday. The game's on Friday night, isn't it? Or whenever it is, the day after, we'll have a breakdown for it. And hopefully a bit more news happens, and the next pieces of content we have out on the channel, we can maybe centre on scouting some transfer targets or talking about completed deals and all that kind of stuff. If you are new around here, please do like and subscribe for more content like this. In the description of all the content, you've got access to all the different channels that are open for Scottish Football Daily on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, everywhere. So if you use any social media platforms, giving us a wee follow, a like, a share, a retweet, whatever it is, it goes a long, long way to supporting the channels. And the bigger and better we get, the bigger and better content that I'll be able to bring to you guys, covering all things Scottish football here on Scottish Football Daily. Thanks again to everyone that tuned in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.